Breaking news! Aliens create man-Martian, first of a brand new species. You could be next! Home inspection scandal. They never check for ghosts. You could be next! And lastly, greedy bartender mixes drinks in cement mixer. You could be next. Wait a second. This isn't breaking news. This newspaper is from June 25th, 2007. Why did you give me this newspaper and tell me that I was gonna die?
Stars and Stripes!
Hello and welcome to another Carrot Scraps video, and by another, I mean the 35th. Today we're gonna be doing something very different than I normally do on my channel, but I think it's gonna fit in perfectly with our Creepy Carrot Month. And as you know, Creepy Carrot Month is, it's just the stupid name I call October on my channel. We'll talk about it later, but for now I want to talk about Weekly World News. The Weekly World News was a fictional newspaper that began print in 1979. And over the decades, the publication would print stories featuring aliens from other worlds, monsters like Bigfoot or the iconic Bat Boy, and hundreds of other stories about rednecks. I don't know why there are just so many redneck stories in the Weekly World News, and like mixed with it, like alien rednecks, telepathic rednecks. I don't know what it is with rednecks in the Weekly World News, but you know, moving on. Anyway, this tabloid was a fixture of my childhood, and though it stopped being printed in 2007, you might be able to help the newspaper's return in 2020. I'll talk more about how you can help the Weekly World News at the end of the video, but first, let's take a look at 3 stories from the June 25th, 2007 copy of the Weekly World News to illustrate what a typical issue looks like. First article on the docket tonight is Alien Surgeons Create Man-Martian. This one's coming right at you from Dick Siegel. Dick Seagal. Right? Seagal? Siegel. So basically the beginning of the story sets up that Chuck Kersey was involved in some kind of a mine collapse. A collapse that put his coworkers, friends, and family in danger. I don't know why his coworkers were also his family, but I'm gonna, mind your own business, Carrot Scraps. Anyway, in the process of trying to rescue them, he's hit in the head several times with large boulders. A rock hit me in the head. Then another, then a third, knocking me to my knees, to my face, and finally unconscious. When I opened my eyes, I was blinded by a warm golden light that seemed to radiate from everywhere, he said. My first thought was that I had been rescued. But by whom? This sure didn't look like the inside of an ambulance. Weird instruments and glowing hexagonal computer monitors. I was on some sort of bed that was floating within some sort of circular room. As I craned my neck, I saw tubes and wires leading from my body to a control panel. There was movement to one side, and he looked in that direction. To my right, I saw the alien doctor, clad in white surgical scrubs. The ET evidently sensed my terror, and touched my forehead with a spindly finger. His black marble eyes twinkled as he adjusted his headband. Then, I heard warm, comforting words inside my head. He told me that they had transported me from the mine as that section began to cave in as well, Kersey recalled. I asked what had happened to my brother. He said rescue workers had been able to reach that crew thanks to an opening caused by Kersey. He went on to explain that my body had been badly crushed before they could teleport me, and that they had to perform replacement therapy. When I asked him what that meant, he raised a palm-sized disc. A liquid crystal mirror formed in the air above me. As I looked at my reflection, I saw a hodgepodge of pieces. It looked like they had just thrown me together out of who knew what. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. Instead, I just passed out. West Virginia state troopers found a dazed Kersey wandering along the interstate about a mile from where the cave-in had occurred. They said I was dressed in a translucent gown made from unknown metallic fabric. They took me to Whitney Major General Hospital thinking I was on drugs, which I was. Alien drugs. The post-abductee was examined by Dr. Karl Bushinsky. Not only did Kersey survive the cave-in, but he had undergone heavy-duty surgery, said Dr. Bushinsky. Kersey had a brand new set of lungs. Actually, it was just a lung, a big one that wasn't quite human. Obviously, a set of these was meant to breathe in an extremely thin atmosphere, like on Mars. Not only that, but his legs appear to have been built with some organic metal bone hybrid with micro pistons instead of bone. Mr. Kersey was not someone you would want to race against you in a marathon. Finally, it was pretty difficult not to notice that his tongue was now somewhat reptilian, the doctor added. He must have bitten it off during the cave-in, and they had to give him one of their own. along with one of their eyes replacing the one that had been damaged. Oh, and there was a kind of antenna attached to what remained of his right ear. Apparently, he is able to listen to police radio broadcasts with his antenna. The article concludes with Kersey going over his feelings on the procedure and his recovery. While I was recovering in the hospital, I sifted through some back issues of your paper. I began to wonder if these were the same aliens who had recently operated on a trucker. I'm sure glad they helped, otherwise I wouldn't be here to tell my story. The good news is, when I'm able to go back into the mine, I'll be able and equipped to handle any emergency. My legs are like car jacks, my new lung capacity allows me to hold my breath for half an hour, my Martian eye can see in the dark, and if all else fails, I can call 911 with my antenna ear. I guess that alien surgeon knew what he was doing after all. So overall, it seems like there were some pros, to this new alien Martian lifestyle. I guess I don't know for sure, so I can't really say that, but I'm willing to say that he's happier now than he was before. Our next story is titled Home Inspection Scandal. They Never Check for Ghosts. This one comes to us by Sarah Mikolo. I hope I said your name right, Sarah. I'm not very good at reading. Mia and Clay Hellstorm looked forward to spending their first night in their dream home. However, they never dreamed their master bedroom housed an uninvited guest. We had just settled back on our pillows, related Mia, when the bed sagged like something, or someone, had plopped between us. We both stared at each other, having the same thought, admitted Clay. Was this place haunted? It couldn't be, they told themselves. The Hellstorms had paid the Home Checkup Bureau for a thorough investigation of the property. The inspector had found only one defect: a noisy furnace. After a second walkthrough, the representative had assured his clients that this place was okay for occupancy, but there was something he had missed. If they had asked the neighbors, they would have learned that this was a death home, said Mia, still shivering at the memory of their paranormal encounter. Ghastly Sally, as I call her, had died here 9 years before. Oh, okay, well, okay. The Hellstorms are suing the inspection agency for pain and suffering, as well as damages, since they had fled their garden during a run through the roses when they fled the home in blind terror. They are also seeking to recover the fees they will have to pay for an exorcist to cleanse the house. An attorney for the HCB replied in a statement, "We intend to vigorously defend our methods and findings in this matter, as we believe the Hellstorms brought the ghost with them. They cannot prove that this so-called Ghastly Sally is Mrs. Gertrude Spittle, who expired on the premises while doing Pilates. We never had ghost problems in our condo," said Clay dismissively. "It's the house that's haunted." Regardless of the outcome of this lawsuit, Mia has become an advocate for house buying reform. The lesson here is that buyers should be allowed to spend the night in a place before signing the papers, said a sadder but wiser Mia, balancing her weight between two crutches. Home inspections can certify that the shower drain isn't working, but only personal experience and preemptive exorcism can put your mind and the dead to rest. What's crazy about this story is that this is something that is kind of real. Like, people actually kind of believe this. There's that great Nathan For You episode where basically this is a very similar premise. He ends up starting like a real estate business with the big hook being that they're the only business that can tell you if a house is haunted or not. And people actually bought into it. So what do I know? This is a high quality story. See, I really love stories like this where, in my opinion, the humor is way more subtle. The comedy comes from the fact that they're trying to explain this somewhat mundane paranormal experience in a more legal and serious manner. The story really isn't about whether the house is haunted by a ghost, but rather if the people selling the house are guilty of any wrongdoing. I just think that's like hilarious. That's so funny. Back into reporter voice mode. Local bar shut down for mixing drinks in cement mixer. Last week, Fillers, a local watering hole, was shut down for unsanitary conditions, though not because of conditions inside the bar. Quote, "I was on patrol when a rather large and unusual object caught my eye," said Officer Carlton Marks of the Helicopter Aviation Unit. They say that Carlton Marks is a Helicopter Aviation Unit officer, and that he was just kind of flying around. Is that a job? Do cops just fly around in helicopters and like look around? I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense for exactly this reason. But there's like a point where they're like, I got really close
to see that there was a little cocktail umbrella in the mixer. Nobody heard that. I feel like I would hear if a cop was just like suspicious of my house and getting closer and closer just to see what's in my backyard. I mean, how close are we talking here? Imagine you walk out in your backyard, you see a police officer in a helicopter, and they just wave out and they're like, "Sorry, we thought you were committing a crime. I just had to see with my eyes. Sorry, you're good. Don't worry. We're going to go back into the sky and look around and be nosy." I mean, that's what it is, right? They're just nosy.
It was a cement mixer parked in an alley beside the bar. But that's not what was strange. Flying closer, I saw a giant red cocktail umbrella sticking from behind. Shortly after, the Watertown Police Department began an investigation from an inconspicuously parked car. People were entering the bar completely sober and leaving dangerously inebriated, sometimes within just 30 minutes, said Undercover Officer Joe Bolton. Going inside, Bolton discovered that Fillers was charging just $2 a glass for unlimited drinks made from the cement mixer. Owner Terry McCobb was arrested, though he denied any wrongdoing. Making drinks in bulk allowed me to fire my bartenders and lowered the cost per unit so I could stay ahead of the competition. I had intended to clean out the lingering flecks of cement, but our pricing made us so busy, I never got the chance. I have learned one lesson though, he added. It doesn't always pay to mix things up. Was that a joke? I don't understand. Was that a joke? Mix things up? It just ends there. I don't get it.
And that wonderful story came to us from Jennifer Plastino. Thanks, Jennifer. So again, this is righteous journalism. I bet you've never even heard this story, but Weekly World News was able to blow the lid right off its case. Is that how that's said? Blow the lid off its case? This kind of investigative journalism is needed. What if there are other bars with cement mixers in the back? I gotta imagine this is pretty common enough to have a giant cocktail umbrella industry, right? And those are just 3 of many amazing articles in the June 25th, 2007 issue of the Weekly World News. So crazy enough, I was planning on doing this video anyway for October, but as I was doing research about the newspaper for the video, I discovered that the Weekly World News actually started a Kickstarter within the last couple of days. A Kickstarter that will hopefully revive the once glorious publication. So if you enjoyed or felt any kind of emotion about anything you saw in this newspaper or anything that I read today, definitely check out their Kickstarter and help them out before it ends. This insane newspaper has been a bizarre fixture in my life since I was a kid, and I would love to see whatever new antics they come up with. They also claim they're going to fix 2020, so that's a big promise. I don't know what they're going to do for that. But seriously, I'm a huge fan of the Weekly World News, and I hope I illustrated why and why I think it's important. Make sure to check out their Kickstarter and support them if you can, because I would love to see them return. I want to thank you so much for watching. I know this has been a very different type of video for my normal subscribers. For anyone new here, I normally do video game content on this channel, but let's just say I'm going to be working on a lot of weird videos like this one in the future. Videos that celebrate or highlight something from my childhood or something that I admire or respect that doesn't necessarily fall into the video game category. I'm still obviously going to be talking about video games, and I'm going to be focusing on video games on my channel, but expect to see a diverse palette of content on my channel in the future. But please let me know how you felt about this video in the comments below, whether you enjoyed it or whether you disliked it, whether you want to see more of this kind of content or whether you want me to get back to video games. I'd love to hear your feedback either way. Anyway, if for whatever reason you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and to subscribe to my channel for more. I've mentioned it already, but it is Creepy Carrot Month on my Twitch and YouTube channels, which basically means that on Twitch, I'm going to be playing mostly horror games, and on YouTube, I'm going to try and sprinkle in some Halloween content as well. That was kind of the point of this video, was to talk about something weird. I don't know, I felt like the Weekly World News fit for a Creepy Carrot Month video. But if you join me on Twitch, our goal this Creepy Carrot Month is to play as many Resident Evil games as possible. We're starting from Resident Evil 1 and going all the way to Resident Evil 7, and if we can play any other games, like Zero or Code Veronica, we definitely will, but I just want to play as many as I can, because I'm not confident I can get through all 7. Ah! 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 Anyway, if that's interesting to you and you want to watch me play video games live, make sure to check me out on Twitch at carrotscraps. You can follow me on all my other social media, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at carrotscraps as well. I want to thank you again so much for watching this video, and I will see you soon. But good job once again. But good job again. But good job once again. But good job You did a good job, Weekly World News, once again. Now,